Hey everybody, Abby Peterson here, Sam Ambassador with my lovely Erica Peterson. We are here today doing some curly hair, and I had cut one side of Erica so far on some of the curly techniques that I use in the salon behind the chair. So I'm going to share with you some of the looks that I do and try to get them all in so you can learn something. So what we're going to do with her first is, what I did already is I actually cut her length. And what I did to cut her length is I put in the comb and I just kind of placed it in the area that I wanted in her perimeter. And then I went through and then I cut it. So, hey, by the way, I'm using Sam VS swivel shears. Look at how they turn. They're great for our wrists, so we don't hurt our wrists. Ergonomic, that's what it's all about. But back to the cutting. So we went in, I put in her length and I cut that. And then I went to the back and brought it to the back and then connected the two together, just bringing it back. And then again, placing the comb right in there with Sam's great wide tooth comb. And I went with a lighter comb because he has a black one and a white one. And what's great is that depending on the hair texture and the color, you can just go either one so you can see the comb really well. And then we dropped it down and then I cut her length. And I'm keeping it softly with the comb here because when you stretch it, it's going to curl and shrink up. So you always want to make sure that you're not pulling on curls, because if she says to me, I want it up to here, and I cut it, there, she's going to shrink up to here. So you want to make sure that you give some leeway and you don't cut it as short as she wants it, because it's going to shrink up big time. So we kept her longer. I slid the comb right in here, cut her bottom, and then just let it lift up and poof up. So we can still leave her some length. She wants to have still some length, but her curls are looking good. So we're going to go in with the look that I'm doing now today. I learned some, again, from Sam via himself on the curly texture. Also some Mazzani. And I love their little, the air cut that Tippy Shorter came up with, because it's great. So these sectionings that I did are from Mazzani. And I have like zone 1, which is the hairline. And so with the hairline, what we want to do is determine where we want that. And when you're doing curly hair, you always want to, with your client, find out where do you want those curls to be. So you see how she got all the lift here, and we just did that earlier, and I'm going to match it up. So where does she lay? Where does it lie? Where does her curls lay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pinch her pieces and do freehand glides. So this is my first sections. So you're going to pinch. And don't mind my blue because I was doing using markers. So again, check out my shears and check how I can just swerve and go in there. And what you want to do is you want to rock the shears. You want to keep a nice curve to them so you're not just chopping the hair off so it's hard. And we're going to do like a little bit of stair stepping. So you're going to drop down like maybe another curl or two, and you could come in here and then just curve the shears. Curve the shears. I'm not slide cutting and sliding it down, because what I'll do is just kind of like, I'll give too much separation to the hair, kind of and make it pull and look a little frizzy. So you just want to cut, but you're just rocking the shears. Can you see that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
We got a question from Ms. Chio. Is the hair damp or dry?
She is dry, but I did mist it. And I misted it with Sam's little squirt bottle here, and it's just like a nice little mist. I'm good on your makeup. But it's great because it's not like water just pushing out. So that little mist helps out a lot. But this dry cutting is great. So you can do it dry, and if you have to mist it a little bit, go ahead. But we shampooed her already today, so she was good. I just misted her very lightly. But a lot of times I'll just do dry, and sometimes I won't even mist her, just depending. Yeah, so we're just coming in here, picking up pieces, rocking the shears out, so that way you get that softness. She here up in her front had curtain bangs, so when I blew her out straight, she would have a nice curtain bang, and we were looking just for something curly so she would have bangs, so she liked that. And now we're like, are we letting them grow out, Erica?
Yeah, we're letting them grow. It's time.
Yeah, so you just want to pinch, pull very lightly, and then just rock your shears. See how because you're getting a softness. Can you see that? I'm going to lift up my arm so you can kind of see it a little bit better.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you just pinch and rock. And so you see the little hair, and that way it gives softness and some lift in her sides.
What does the rocking do?
So the rocking diffuses the ends. So that way you're not gonna, because if I were to just cut, it's gonna be a strong line. So you wanna keep that softness in there. So by rocking it and just coming in like this and rocking it, it just gives the softness to the hair. And you just hit that top and it breaks it up and gives it a little bit more softness. So if you look, I wanna soften this little piece up again and just real soft rock it. See how it lifted up more? And then it takes away from the little square look and she's gonna get a little more softness within her hair. And you can do that around the perimeter, pinch, rock, and this is your hairline. This is like your first sections around your hairline here. So like an inch, half inch sectioning right around the front. I'd probably say like an inch section. So that way you get your foundation there.
Awesome. We have a question. Would you tell your guests to come in clean and dry or with like day old hair?
I would say clean and dried, and if they don't, you can then shampoo them and put product. I did the Miracle Milk in her hair. I used Miracle Milk in her hair, and it's just a nice detangler.
It smells so good.
Yeah.
It smells so good.
And then we went in and we actually used a little bit of the Koi oil gel, but I only used a little bit right now because I'll use a little after, and I want to show you a little technique on like drying her and diffusing her.
Beautiful.
So that was my first section. So now with my second section, we have back here in the nape is we have zones like 2 and 3 right back here. So we're gonna drop this section out here. And when you're clipping up curly hair, you see how it's clipped and it's like, I just kind of folded it up because you don't want to pull on the curl so it's like frizzy, right? So you just keep it soft and then just clip it up. And then you're going to spray in your hand and then slide down the Miracle Milk just right down the strand of the hair. It makes it a little bit easier to grab the sections. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab a diagonal back section and we're going to bring that to the front. And I'm going to come right around to the front and just show you like a quick little way you see of cutting this. So you see how she's longer back here and we're going to like pick it up to give it some lift. So actually let me turn you a little bit, Erica. Does that work?
It works.
So what you want to do is like put your hand in like a fist. Your fingers at a 45. Okay, and we're going to do some exterior cutting. And then we're going to bring it to the back. Okay, so then we're just going to real lightly cut this back. And then again, round, curve them shears. Okay, so you see, and then I'm going to drop down a section and I'm going to curve them shears again. So I'm actually cutting it. Okay, so I'm not like just sliding it, I'm actually cutting it. So you can see that. And then when you take it down, look at the hair, look at how it lifts.
Beautiful.
Okay, so we're gonna take our next section. So I would give like sometimes 3 sections to the hair in that subsection that I have. Again, like we have our fist, dropping the hair in your fingers at a 45, bringing it back, and then rocking your shears. Drop it down, and you rock it again.
What's the reasoning for bringing it like to the front to the back?
It gives you a little bit more length in there, because you're over directing it, right? And then you bring it back, and it just creates a little softness. So could you bring it back here and cut it? You could. Yeah. You could do that, but by just bringing it forward, it just brings a little bit more softness to the hair, and it creates a little bit more lift.
Awesome.
Yeah. So again, we're gonna take our fist, put our fingers right in and drop, we're gonna put them at a 45, drop the hair right in between, and then we're gonna bring it to the back. And then we're gonna rock that.
Awesome. You're getting a lot of love. We got a question from Metback. How would this cut translate once it's stretched out and straightened?
It looks really good because you would think that, like because it's the different layers, it actually looks good. It looks good straight too. Like if you go in and you cut a lot of different lengths, it's gonna be a little bit, like when you do it completely straight, you might see a little something that you might wanna tweak. So that way she's able to wear it both ways. But what I do is like, if someone wears their hair curly all the time, I'll do looks like this. I'll do a lot of dry cutting. But if they wear their hair wet and dry, then I tend to cut them wet. And depending on their curl. So that's my decision on what I do when I'm gonna cut. So for Erica, she wears her hair curly a lot. So I'll cut her dry cut. And then once in a while I'll do it wet just to throw something in and change it up a little bit.
Awesome. How long does this haircut take longer in the salon? Like, would you book more time for an haircut?
I do book a little bit more time because, like, say she came in and she didn't have her hair shampooed, then I would book out a little more time because I would want to shampoo her, and then I would want to dry her. And then make it your own, So you want to take it more time. I do take I make sure I have an hour with my clients when I cut them dry.
Awesome.
Yeah, and even when I color them, I'll first cut them first, and I'll shampoo them and I'll dry them, and then I'll do their color, or because they'll come in for me already dried and shampooed, and that way I can just cut it, and then they can after I cut it, then we can just start our color. So now for our next section here on the sides. This would be 4 and 5. And so then I'm going to take this, and now we're going to bring it forward. And so what this section is going to be kind of like her face framing, because that's going to give her some volume on the side. So we're going to bring that forward, and then we're going to pick it up, and then we're going to go in between. So it's like you're texturizing, but you're still rounding it out, and you're giving some lift. You're taking out some of the weight. So look how it just is spaced out.
Beautiful. Airy.
Yeah, and that's the look we want. That's exactly what we want, is airy. I know, I watch Tippy Shorter, I watch Ashley and Eve, and they're so great with this, the air cut and creating those pocket holes. So that's the difference of this haircut. So it gives it a lot of airiness, okay? So again, find her face framing, which is underneath here, bringing it forward, depending on how much you're wanting to cut. So you see her curls, and now I'm just going to go inside. And then round them out. And then you can make it your own too by adding extra little things to it. Maybe I don't use all the glides, maybe I use a couple of them, Maybe I keep her one length and I just come in and do the interior, so you can change it up so many different ways.
Awesome. What was your tension like in your non-cutting hand? Is it pretty tight?
Where my scissors are?
No, when you're holding it.
When I'm holding it,
yeah.
I'm holding it loose, not real tight. So because if you start pulling on it tight like that, you're stretching her curls out. And then when it shrinks, you're going to probably cut more and it'll probably shrink up shorter, right? So you want to be careful. So it's very a loose tension when you're holding that section. It's a loose tension, and then pick it up, and then go in between.
Awesome.
And I like creating different looks on different people. You can do different techniques. You don't always have to be with the same technique for curly hair, and that's what I love. Your goal is to find out what works for her hair and to get a nice look and silhouette. And the science behind the Mazzani and the air pockets is wonderful, because it really does move, and that you get softness throughout the hair. But you see how it's just lifting up?
Oh yeah. Beautiful.
And she has great hair on top of that.
Yeah, I want to see.
What shear are you using again? Is it the?
So I am using the 5-inch, 5.5. I like little scissors, little shears, and it's a swivel, and they're so great. Because you can move them around. It helps with our wrist. You see how I don't have to use my wrist so much. You can come down and cut. I could come upwards, and if I want to do stair stepping within the side, I could come in like this and stair step. If I want to turn and go down, I could just go down instead of just okay, I'm up. Okay, now I gotta You know, I can just like move. It's so easy just to move and it just glides. But I love these. So now that I got them, I'll never go back.
Yes.
So I'm having so much fun with these. And again, everyone's like, why do you use short shears? And I'm like, I love them. Just let me have them. Okay. So now with our section here, again, we're going to take that. Now this are, we're going to bring our fingers again at our 45. And then we're going to come into the top. Now this is a little more exterior cutting, so we're going to go inside a little bit more. And you can go higher up, depending on the thickness of someone's hair. You know, you could go high. I could go up here, you know, depending on the thickness, or I can drop down here. But that's where you're getting the interior cutting because you're going up a little higher. So exterior cutting is more in the bottom, like in this area here. So maybe you're here. In the interior, like you're going up a little higher. So you're going to create more volume. Okay, so then we're here again, 45, coming back, and then we're going to go up like 3 curls. So I'm going to cut in here and I'm rounding the shears. Can you see that?
So it's like a little C motion almost.
Yeah, just like that.
Awesome.
Now watch. And you see the lift that she got and the airiness?
Oh, yeah.
So her hair is growing.
Yeah.
And that way it's not flat, because what Erica would tell me sometimes is that, wow, Mom, my hair is like, it's so flat up here. So now doing this look, it just helps her get so much more lift in her hair.
No Christmas tree curls.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we don't want.
Yeah.
No more Christmas tree curls.
Yeah.
So now we're going to use the Miracle Milk again. Do like 3 or 4 sprays. Rub it in your hands. And then we're just going to slide that on her hair.
When you tell your guests to come in with clean hair, do you say like no products, just fully air dried?
I'll say I will let them know in advance to get like the Miracle Milk and use a nice deep conditioner. And then that way when they come in, I have that already in their hair. But sometimes you'll get where they don't use anything, and you're okay too because you can add the Miracle Milk yourself. You know, so it's okay. So you see how I have some longer strands, because how I cut her last time, I left her some longer pieces, so we're trying to be cool and leave her longer pieces. So like I said, you play with your curls and what you want. Okay, so now with our top section, you can pinch just like we did at the front hairline. You pinch it, and then you're gonna like kind of like twist it. Let me put that comb down because you don't need your comb. And how awesome is that you don't need your comb? And then what we're going to do is we're going to just slide that and rock them shears. And that C motion. See how it picked it up?
Beautiful. What's the reasoning for not using the comb?
So you don't want to use a comb because it's like you're going to be, if I use a comb, I'm going to stretch out all that curl, right? And I want to keep her curls intact. So what you want to do is just be able to just freehand it. So it's all about just freehanding it.
Awesome.
I mean, you could spend like an hour and a half just cutting this, you know, because it is such a cool look. And you're like, I always heard Chris Sorby say a bespoke haircut. And I'm like, what's a bespoke haircut? And it's like making it your own, you know. But then, you know, taking what I learned from Tippy and why are you doing it? Like there has to be a science behind it, not just a silhouette, but is it working for her? Does it work for her? You know, so you just want to make sure that it works all, you know, great silhouette, but reasoning behind it. So it's always finding out, why are you doing it? What are you doing it for? You know, who does it work for? You know, so start thinking of your clients. So just seeing that out. And
yeah, beautiful. Your wrist is totally neutral too.
yeah, so wasn't
Yeah.
that nice? So it's like instead of me having to, you know, I would have to really rock it if it was straight. So having the swivel is so great. How's she looking, you guys? You're my mirror.
Beautiful. Susie Keller says your model's beautiful.
Thank you, Susie Keller.
Thank you. So let's take a look at her front here, and let's see that volume in here. Oh, you see the shape?
Beautiful. It's like rounding.
Yeah. And so now, once you're done, you can tweak it. And like, where else do you feel like she's a little bit square somewhere? Like, this little piece here, maybe I need to round that so you can piece it out, do a little bit of freehand, and then come in. And then just soften that up. So just took that little squareness off and just kind of rounded it up a little bit. So depending what your client wants, you know, does she want that soft look? You know, does she want a square look? What is she looking for? Does she want to be one length? Okay? And then come in the back and then just kind of move it around and see what needs to be tweaked. You know, because that's where this comes into where it's like an hour and a half, like you're sitting here playing with it, you know? Because you can always do so much to it. It's crazy. So now I'm just freehanding and just kind of tweaking it a little bit. But look at the lift that she got, you guys. Like, look at that volume.
Stunning.
Yeah. And wasn't it fast? It was easy. You know, but you just want to know the curls you'll cut and just be the same on each side when you're doing it. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of Cocoa Dew. And this is from Mazzani. And I'm just going to mist that in her hair. And so we're going to diffuse. I'm going to diffuse her hair a little bit so you can kind of see how I diffused her hair.
Awesome.
And how important it is, you know, to have the product in and not to touch it so much. Because once you touch it so much, then what happens is that it starts getting really frizzy.
I definitely touch it too much. When I do it, I definitely do.
We got a really good question from Laura C. Hairstylist.
Yes.
What's the recommended schedule for refreshing a curly cut?
I would still make sure you had that hour, you know? So that way, you're not going to do everything that you did the last time, but you definitely give yourself that hour because if she didn't shampoo her hair, you got to shampoo it. And then if she, you know, if you feel like, if she does shampoo it, you'll be faster, you know? But that way you can kind of see and tweak and what needs to be done, but you're not going to do everything that you did the last time, you know? So that it works out nice. But when I do my curly heads, they know they're going to be with me for a little bit. Because you want to just give them that time.
Yeah. Would you still tell them to come like every 8 to 10 weeks or like stretch it?
Yeah, they could do like 10 weeks. You know, what I do with one of my clients, she's curly too, and she's like about Erica's color. She comes 4 weeks for her color, but what I'll do is every other time she comes, I'll cut her hair. Yeah, and she's letting it grow, so it works out great. So I was looking at her back and her length and just kind of moving it around to see if there's any loose ends. Just go in there and clean them up. And then take a look at how is it laying. So you see why you could spend time doing this.
Yeah. So visual.
And it's just like that, such a nice silhouette.
We have a question from Now Loose. If a client has a longer, thinner face, would you restructure the shape of a curly cut?
Yeah, like with her having a longer face, like she needs hair right in through the sides. So you want to give her something where she has, when you cut it, take some pieces that are a little bit shorter and through here, or at least if she doesn't want this short on the top surface, go inside. And like how we did the internal cutting, you know, go inside and then cut some pieces in through here and raise it up. So just like I did Erica in the inside cutting. So just come in and cut, right? And that's going to lift this up, which will then lift her top up, which will give her a little bit more roundness in her face. So you want that lift. And remember, like when you have wavy hair, so a lot of the waves live down here. But when you have curly hair like Erica's, it lives here. But when you have real coily hair, it lives up here. So the hair wants to grow up, and that's where the afros come in, right? So just watching where the curls are and how much you're cutting off. So that's like huge. Because I'm overdoing, you know, as we cut hair, we learned that, you know, you have clients that, oh, I want this cut here, I want it up to here. And I've seen people cut it to there, and then their hair went to here. So you really got to be, you really got to watch where you cut, right? Because you don't want to just cut it where they asked you. You want to leave 2 inches to play with because it's going to shrink up to that spot. And be careful when you cut them straight, because when you cut them straight, it's gonna shrink when they're curly. And I've seen that done before too, so it's like, so if I'm gonna cut them straight, I know I'm gonna trim them.
Totally.
Yeah, and so you wanna be really careful. So what I'm using here now is I'm using Sam Via's Ionic Dryer, which I love, very lightweight. I attached the diffuser on, so easy to diffuse, to pop on. It's like a little cup, a little bowl. It's great because the hair goes right inside. But what you want to make sure you do is when you're doing your curly hair, like have them lean over so all the hair comes to the side, like I'm going to have Erica do. Alright, so everything just hang over, and you just want to bounce it in. You know, so that way her curls move. So she can do this easily to her hair too. You get that lift, right? So just a lot of nice bounce. Right, and then we'll have her do the other side, and then she'll pull everything over. And just bouncing it in there. And let's just say that you want, and then you can always, like, again, like for her back, you'll have her lean back on your chair. For forward, you'll just have her bring everything forward. And a lot of the clients, they don't mind. And if they don't bend, you push them down. Feel a little stiff back here. Okay. So you just bounce it in. Bounce the curls in, right? You just bounce the curls in. And it works so good. It gives it more volume and lift. Then I'll have you throw your hair back.
Whoa. Lava boom.
Yeah. And if someone has like if they're real flat on the top, what you want to do is to place your diffuser right on the top, and what you do is you spin it. And what that does is it creates volume in the top. So remember that, because that was like a hot tip that Sam showed me, and it was great because that's when they got their lift. Okay? So that's just a little hot tip for you. And then real quick, when you use your coil oil gel, if you wanted to have a little bit more curls, you could take it and you could place it on the strand of her hair, you know, and what you could do is you could twist it around your finger when you're styling her and pull it out and look at her curls. So a little tighter. And you can do that wherever you find a little piece that you feel like it's frizzy, you know, add the product, wrap it around your finger, okay, and then untwist it. So you get the little curls.
Beautiful.
So that if there's frizzy pieces, that's what you can do. And then that'll just help with that. And just use a little product. You know, you want it moist, and you want to keep their hair really wet when you're diffusing. But because we did this style, you know, I dried her so I could cut her dry. But what you want to do is leave her really wet when you're diffusing, so that way you get that nice little curl like that.
Lovely.
Because her curls can shrink up a little tighter, but because we blew it out, it was bigger. And so we're just doing something fun today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is good. So just to recap, on her look, we went through the sides again, and we cut her hairline first, which was her perimeter. Then we went back in. From there, we had our 7 sections. So that was our 1 section. We had our 2 section, our 2nd section, which was down here at the nape. And that was 2 and 3. Our 4 and 5 was the side. Our 6 was that crown, and 7 was that top. You know, so find what works for you and get that pattern so you have that look, and you could do that, and then you'll know what to do even the next time you do her hair. You'll know. Yeah, and if you haven't took a Mazzani haircut class, you can always take a Mazzani haircut class so you can get this haircut down, because that's what I found that worked really good for me, and it was just adding to my toolbox. So I did already curly haircuts, and this just added more to my toolbox, so I love it. So I can play with it, and I can create, and I can use 2 glides or 3 glides, you know, whatever I want, and whatever works for the client is what you want to do. And then diffusing, making sure you use a little bit, of product, like your Miracle Milk was great, coil oil gel was good, and then diffusing and using a good diffuser and blow dryer works out great. And then just little tricks, and you could take this little section and you can wrap it around the comb if you wanted to. You could take it and you can wrap it around your tail comb.
Oh.
So it's a nice little trick of, and you know what you can do too, if someone had like wavy hair and you wanted it really curly, when you wrap it around the comb like that, hit it with a flat iron and they'll come out really tight. So that's like a cool look. And if someone is, you'll find some curly hair that's like wavy in areas and curly in others, and you could do that for the curly hair too. And that always works out really nice.
People are loving it.
So can you have clients that you could think of that you would use this for? And the look. And then twist it out. And then just making sure you come under. And if you need that lift, just shake out them curls.
Shake, shake, shake.
So how does that work for you?
Beautiful. Everyone's loving it. You're getting a lot of hearts. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like a lot of Gen Z clients too are embracing texture, and I love it.
Yeah. We're seeing so much curl. And I had a client say to me one day, like, oh, I think the world is more curly than they are, or more straight than they are curly. And I go, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Because just a lot of people hide their curls and they blow it out. You know, but now it's so in.
Yeah.
So he couldn't believe all the curly hair that he started seeing. So it is great. Does anyone have any more questions for me?
No, you're just getting a lot of beautiful cut. Looks beautiful. Lots of hearts.
Yes. So everybody's like, you gonna go home and try this?
Yeah. This will be saved on the Sambia Hair Instagram, y'all. And make sure you follow Evie. Her Instagram handle is pinned below. And if you recreate this, make sure you tag her.
Yes.
Or DM her with questions.
Yeah, for sure. DM me. And if you guys have Salon Centric near you, she's actually in the Salon Centric catalog and in their little billboard inside the salon. So that worked out really good too.
Look at that.
It was exciting. We're like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Evie, and your daughter Erica, for coming on here and sharing all your tips and tricks for curly cuts. And we will be back tomorrow with another Instagram Live. So take care, everyone.
All right. See ya.